Vanishing Festival, Tennessee, 1997. Some places do not feel empty. They feel occupied, not by people, but by something that never left. Long after the lights shut off and the crowds disappear, something remains, breathing in the dark, listening, waiting for someone to notice. In rural Tennessee, there is a stretch of land where the air feels heavier after sunset. Locals avoid it at night, radios crackle without reason, fog rolls in without warning, and sometimes, when the wind is right, people swear they can still hear distant carnival music drifting through the trees where no speakers stand. They call it the old Hawkinsville Fairgrounds. But before it became a place of whispers and warnings, it was once filled with laughter. On September 12, 1997, families arrived for cotton candy, carnival rides, and a warm autumn evening. Children ran ahead of their parents. Teenagers wandered the midway. Vendors lit their stalls and turned on their machines. Nobody knew they were walking into the last night they would ever be seen. By sunrise, the fairgrounds were silent, not abandoned, not damaged, empty. Witnesses say the fog began rolling in just after sunset. Not the usual light mist, but thick, low clouds that hugged the ground and curled through the walkways like smoke. It moved slowly at first, creeping between booths and beneath rides, wrapping around ankles, brushing against skin. Parents calling out for their children heard their voices echo back, distorted, stretched, as if something else were repeating them from inside the fog. Some said the fog felt cold, even though the night air was warm. Security cameras later captured people walking toward the rides, laughing, pointing, stopping at booths. Then the footage glitches, the figures slow. Their movements become unnatural, almost jerky, and one by one they fade. Not walk away, not run, fade, as if the fog swallowed them whole. Vendors working the stands reported an unsettling feeling they could not explain, like being watched from just beyond the lights, like someone was standing right behind them, breathing, but when they turned around, there was nothing there. Walkie-talkies that normally stayed clear filled with static. Then voices, faint, warped, repeating names. Some vendors heard their own names spoken back to them through the noise, as if something was calling to them personally. One teenage worker at a ring toss booth later said he heard his name whispered 3 times, followed by soft laughter that did not sound human. He said it came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. By midnight, the fairgrounds felt wrong. The Ferris wheel turned slowly with no operator. The carousel spun, painted horses frozen mid-gallop, their glass eyes reflecting flickering lights. Food stood untouched on counters. Music played faintly through speakers that were no longer connected to power, yet somehow still worked. The lights did not feel welcoming anymore. They felt like bait. A security guard named Frank Delaney was on duty that night. In his statement, he said the fog felt heavy, like pressure against his chest. He said it was hard to breathe, not because of the air, but because of the feeling that something was very close. He said shadows moved along the midways, tall and thin, stretching unnaturally across the ground, but vanished whenever he tried to approach. He said the air itself felt alive, as if the fairgrounds were breathing. At 1:15 a.m., the first emergency call came in. The caller was crying. Her voice shook. She said there was nobody left, that moments earlier the fairgrounds were full, and now they were empty. She said it felt like everyone had been erased. Officers arrived within minutes. They found rides running, lights flickering, music playing softly, but not a single person in sight. No footsteps, no voices, no movement. Just the sound of machinery and the fog pressing in from all sides, thick enough to swallow the light. Patrol logs noted sudden temperature drops and dense fog pockets moving against the wind. One officer wrote that he felt disoriented, as if time was skipping forward and backward in small jumps. Another reported hearing voices over his radio calling his name, even when no one else was on the channel. One officer wrote that he turned off his radio entirely, but the voice continued, faint, as if it were inside his own head. Witnesses from nearby homes reported seeing lights floating above the fairgrounds, drifting like lanterns through the mist. Some said the lights pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. When they tried to get closer, the lights moved away, always staying just out of reach, as if leading them somewhere deeper into the fog. Amateur radio operators in surrounding counties began reporting strange interference that same night. Static filled the airwaves, but beneath it were faint voices, whispering, pleading, repeating names of local residents. Sometimes the voices spoke names of people who had already passed away, as if reaching across time itself. One operator recorded the signal and described it as rhythmic at first, like a coded transmission. Then it changed. The static softened into voices, not speaking clearly, but calling, drawing, like something was trying to pull people toward it. The next morning, investigators searched the fairgrounds. Nothing was damaged, nothing was stolen. Cotton candy machines were still warm, sugar spilled onto the floors as if someone had dropped everything and walked away mid-motion. Ticket stubs littered the ground. Drinks were still on counters. Food had gone cold, but not stale. It looked like the fair had simply paused. Rides continued moving slowly, powered by generators that should have run out hours earlier. Technicians could not explain how the systems were still operating. Footprints were found leading into the fog at multiple points. Every set ended abruptly. No return tracks, no signs of struggle, no signs of panic, just disappearance, as if the ground itself had swallowed them. The security footage became the most disturbing piece of evidence. People are visible entering the fairgrounds. Families, couples, groups of teenagers. As the clock nears midnight, the footage distorts. Colors fade, shadows stretch, movements become jerky, frames skip. Then suddenly everyone is gone. The rides continue to spin, the lights flicker, the music plays, but no one remains. Investigators slowed the footage down frame by frame. In several clips, shadows appear where no people stand. In others, shapes move just outside the frame, tall and thin, passing behind booths and rides. No source was ever identified. Law enforcement reports concluded there was no evidence of foul play. Weather anomalies were cited, poor visibility, mass confusion, possible hallucinations caused by stress and environmental conditions. But officers who were there disagreed. One deputy wrote that the fog twisted against the wind, that the temperature changed in localized pockets, that the air felt charged, heavy, alive. Another officer wrote that he felt like something was watching them from inside the fog, learning them. In the days that followed, residents reported strange activity near the fairgrounds. Streetlights flickered, radios turned on by themselves. Phones rang with nothing but static on the other end. Some residents reported hearing carnival music drifting through their homes late at night, even with all windows closed. Children claimed they heard voices calling their names from outside. When parents checked, no one was there. Some children said the voices sounded familiar. Others said they sounded wrong, like someone pretending to sound human. A retired park ranger who lived nearby said the smell of burnt sugar lingered for weeks. He said every time fog rolled in, he felt like something was watching him from the trees. He reported seeing movement in the shadows, even when the area was empty, especially near the old Midway. Search efforts continued for weeks. Helicopters, search dogs, volunteers, and investigators combed the area. No bodies, no vehicles, no clothing, no personal items beyond what was left behind at the fair. The missing festival-goers were never found. Over time, the fairgrounds were closed, fenced off, left to decay. Nature slowly reclaimed the rides. Paint peeled, wood rotted, rust crept over metal. But the stories never faded. People who pass by at night still report seeing faint lights flickering where the rides once stood. Some say they hear music drifting through the fog. Others hear whispers through their radios, especially when driving past the grounds after dark. Always calling names, always waiting. So the question remains, did the people of Hawkinsville disappear into the fog, or did something come out of it?